This podcast is brought to you by Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine for those that love to make and drink great beer. Learn more online or subscribe at beerandbrewing.com or find us on social media at Craft Beer Brew. It's episode 296 of the Craft Beer and Brewing Podcast. And this is an extra special episode of the Craft Beer and Brewing Podcast because we're in Pilsen in the Czech Republic right now, sitting in the underground aging caves of the Pilsner Urquell brewery. And joining me to talk about the history of Pilsner, the beer style, and of course, Pilsner Urquell's pivotal place in that is Václav Berka, brewmaster emeritus of Pilsner Urquell. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for welcoming, and I'm greeting all beer lovers around the world.
It's exciting to be here where Pilsner got its start, and we have been talking about that history of Pilsner up before this podcast. We're going to go through that history of Pilsner, and you're going to share that interesting history. I think it's such a fascinating thing to watch how Pilsner became a trend. And how it also, brought in brewing technology and was made possible by brewing technology. It was pulled from other places in Europe and came together here, where the perfect combination of place to make it, water, a government that supported this, and a unique business approach in the very early 1800s made it all happen. We're going to talk about all of that history, and then, of course, how you make Pilsner Urquell, the flagship Pilsner beer, with its triple-decoction process and a lot of love. We're going to talk about all of that, but first, for years, G&D Chillers has chilled the beers you love, partnering with 3,000 plus breweries across the country. They're proud of the cool partnerships they've built, offering 24/7 service and support. G&D builds with non-proprietary parts, expert craftsmanship, and constant innovation. G&D's in-house engineering crew have been piping breweries, wineries, and distilleries for over 30 years. They offer free piping design and consultation with the sale of every chiller they build. Reach out for a quote today at gdchillers.com or call to discuss your next project. Also, this episode is sponsored by CanCraft. Need aluminum cans, lids, or PackTech can carriers? Design help? Don't know where to start? Thankfully, CanCraft is nearby and ready to deliver your complete packaging solution. Plus, with low minimums and full service support from design through delivery, reaching your brand potential has never been easier. Visit bsgcraftbrewing.com/CanCraft to get started. And scheduling freight carriers should be the last thing on a brewer's mind, so why not trust the experts to handle freight for your ingredients? Old Orchard has partnered with a leading logistics firm in the craft beverage industry to transport your flavored craft concentrate blends. When you order 2 pails or more from Old Orchard, you qualify for freight quotes. To get started, head on over to oldorchard.com/brewer. I'm excited about this episode. This is our kickoff, the very first episode from the Czech Republic, and we have a number of additional episodes coming for listeners of the podcast over the next 2 months. And we figured the right place to start this trip in the Czech Republic was right here at Pilsner Urquell. So why don't we start by talking about this history of Pilsner itself, how Pilsner got its start, what was this genesis of this style that is now the most brewed and most drunk beer style around the world.
Okay, you probably across the world know Pilsner Urquell as is, because this is beer which was born here in Pilsen in 5th of October 1842. But I should look for longer history, because we brewed here in Pilsen for longer time before. And we have a first information about brewing here in Pilsen dated from year 1295. Unbelievable. And it was a year when Pilsner as a city started to be king city, nominated by King Wenzel II. And this king delegates to each building in the city privilege, brewed the beer, produce malt for beer, and of course sell the beer in their own building. It was about 300 buildings. And you can imagine, it was not simple in this time because 300 buildings started with brewing beer. We could say we founded here in this time home brewing movement. Because
all brewing was home brewing then.
Yeah, each building brewed the beer in their condition. Sometimes great condition for brewing, good equipment with clever knowledge about brewing. But sometimes the few people has not enough money for ingredients or for equipment or for payment a good brewmaster. And the situation was that sometimes the beer was delicious, excellent, but sometimes was not so good. And it led to one moment in the history, its date or year 1838, when this one brew here in Pilsen was not so good, I would say horrible, and whole brew, it was 36 barrels, was destroyed in front of the municipal hall. And the barrel
They were so mad about the quality of the beer that they destroyed all of it in front of City Hall.
Absolutely. And the brewmaster, to remember it, was put to the one from our rivers to improved for future brewing. But I would say it was a last draw for great decision. It was decision to build new and modern brewery where the beer will be in excellent condition for a whole year. But it was not simple. And to achieve this way, they said we should find know-how or collect how is modern brewery built. And they sent it across the world, one of our civil engineer, Mr. Martin Stelzer. And Martin Stelzer moved to Austria, to Bavaria, to UK, and from each this country sought in modern language know-how, how is brewery built. And from UK came this great invention, we say English kiln. This is equipment which is used for drying malt on the last phase of malt production. Because here was habit, dried to malt with open flame. And it means the malt was regularly darker, sometimes burned.
Smoky flavor from the wood smoke.
Every time smoked. And it led to color of the beer and aroma of the beer. It was a huge step because in English kiln was already for drying used not smoke but hot air. And it led to nice pale color of malt. Second important points from this trip was that Martin Stelzer met in Bavaria, in small city Wilshofen, brewmaster Joseph Groll. And Joseph Groll already used to use in their brewery different kind of yeast. Regularly here in Bohemia, there was about 1,000 breweries, were used yeast of upper fermentation. And all the beer was a little bit cloudy because of spreading of yeast. You know it from ales or wheat beers. And our old brewmaster used to use it because here was not climate condition for using bottom fermentation. Because this yeast need lower temperature for fermentation or for maturation. And Joseph Groll coming to Pilsen bring to us a new type of yeast. And it was a very successful step because here was built a modern brewery with deeper cellars. And we are sitting now in these cellars where total length of these corridors or cavernas is more than 9 kilometers. And here is average temperature about 5-6 degrees Celsius. It's very nice for fermentation. But for maturation, it's still better to have a lower temperature. And it was done or managed by collection ice from rivers and ponds to achieve temperature about 0. But the new type of yeast, new type of malt, great, very soft water, what we have here in Pilsen, and using hops, which is grown not far from Pilsen in Saaz area. It was a great combination in new modern brewery, which were leading to, I would say, new great beer. Joseph Groll, the first brew, brewed 5th of October, and beer was finished and opened first barrel on Martin Names Day, which is in our calendar 11 November. And when Joseph Groll opened the barrel, it was a huge surprising for citizens because it was open on the big fair organized on the main square. Everybody expected dark,
the old beer, right?
Cloudy beer, but Joseph Groll raised the glass where was golden beer, quite clear with nice head, and people were surprised. What happened? What did this brewmaster? We should fight him. But after tasting the beer, they recognized that this is gift from God. And it was reason why this beer was very quickly spread across the world.
Critics will hate anything the first time that they see it, but then they'll come around on it. Sure. Even Pilsner.
Yeah, this beer, which was originally brewed for their own consumption, has very quick, successful career because next year, 1843, was already in our capital in Prague. 1856 was already in capital of Austrian and Hungarian monarchy in Vienna. And then continued 1865 London and Paris. We have medals from quality competitions from these cities. And already 1873, first wooden barrel was opened on American continent in small city Racine, close to Michigan Lake in Milwaukee. And it was great way. And if you are successful, everybody will try to copy this success. And it was similar here in Pilsner.
It's funny to think about Pilsner as a trend at one time, but it was a trend where that wasn't the norm, that wasn't the regular beer, but when presented with it, it was so exciting, new, but the flavors resonated with people that they quickly, other brewers came to have to brew something similar.
It was great because, of course, Czech breweries, and here in Bohemia, in this time was about 1,000 breweries, slowly started to copying the success of Pilsner beer. And Pilsner beer, it was our first trademark registered by Chamber of our government. And here in Pilsen was born still other bigger breweries, Shellholder Brewery Gambrinus, Brewery Prior and Brewery Světovar. And all these breweries, because they brewed the beer in Pilsen, had the legal possibility to name this beer Pilsner beer as well. And it was reason why we registered the new trademark Pilsner Urquell. And we said to world that this is only original and all other Pilsner beers are copy. And it was way to foundation of the category Pilsner beer, which is, this is the biggest category drinking around the world.
Sure.
Yeah, And it was short history how this beer was born. But what is for you important? We started only with 3 ingredients. With soft water, which is here in Pilsner area, with malt which was produced on quite new way in our own malting plant, and we till nowadays produce the malt in our own malting plant direct here in area of brewery, and Saaz hops. And we, as nowadays brewers, are using only these 3 ingredients. It's very important step. In start of the brewery, of course, the brewing was done in copper kettle and heated firstly by wood, later by coal. We still continue with meshing in copper kettle because we are sure that by meshing in copper kettle, there is created the basic parameters of Pilsner beer. But of course, we are heated it with natural gas. But principle is the same. Means same ingredients, same process in brew house. And by fermentation, we of course now are using cylindroconical tanks for fermentation and for maturation. But we are sitting in the cellars where we have still one department where we continue with fermentation in wooden cask and maturation in wooden oak barrels. And this department is here because we should be sure that taste from cylindroconical tanks is absolutely same like from wooden. And not only taste, we should achieve the same drinkability, which is famous for Pilsner Urquell.
Sure. So you're saying that you still compare on a sensory level the wood fermented and wood aged Pilsner Urquell with the larger scale brewed cylindroconical fermented.
We don't only compare it. We have this department because to adjust the process in tanks to the same parameters. And we have same process, same ingredients. Maybe you can ask me how is it with parameters of Pilsner Urquell? Because Pilsner Urquell is famous because it has only 4.4 alcohol by volume. It's done by new type of yeast which we have, and we have special strain. We save it very strictly.
You do have a process and a set of approach and a recipe and technical process that supports all of the individual pieces, from how your barley, your malt works, how your yeast works, which is a little different than some other lager yeast. It's slightly lower attenuating, and so that creates other recipe, and technical process, concerns. You address that in a lot of different ways. Let's talk about that. Before we do that, AccuBrew announces the addition of specific gravity to their suite of brewing tools. AccuBrew predicts specific gravity during fermentation to help ensure consistent results and detect problems early. AccuBrew is dedicated to providing brewers with the tools to create the perfect brew. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, their suite of brewing tools will help you achieve your goals. Monitor the fermentation process with our intuitive mobile app. Adjust your recipe as needed and achieve the perfect brew every time. Join the AccuBrew community today and meet the developers in Nashville at CBC to learn more. Also, ProBrew has been a dedicated and trusted partner to breweries, especially when they make the leap to canning their product. That's why they only sell rotary can fillers, which significantly reduce product waste and produce higher quality product than an inline can filler. Need proof? Visit ProBrew at booth 433, as well as at their party at Yazoo Brewing at this year's Craft Brewers Conference in Nashville. To RSVP to their event or schedule time with them at the show, visit them at probrew.com/CBC or email contact us at probrew.com. ProBrew, brew your beer. So why don't you talk about that, the parameters for Pilsner Urquell, and then because it's interesting to think about how all of this process is built specifically around this beer. The brew house, all of the ingredients, everything else feeds into that. In many other breweries, especially smaller breweries or craft breweries, it's the equipment and the process, they are more standardized, and because they're brewing more styles of beer, they have to work in different ways. But everything is optimized around this beer, the entire production process. Talk to me about what the beer is itself, and then how the systems you've built make that beer.
Yes, I will do it. I already mentioned the equipment. Of course, very important is copper kettle with direct heating for mashing.
So direct heating.
Direct heating. Because the copper very successful transfer the temperature.
Sure.
And when we do the mashing, and we are still using 3-mash decoction, during this mashing process, where are in the kettle create the sugars from starch, these sugars little bit caramelized on the wall of this copper kettle, and this is leading to nice golden color of Pilsner Urquell. And of course, it gives to the beer a little bit caramel tones in taste and aroma. This is very important point. Then
we have an American stereotype of lager beer as crisp or very light, and that is not necessarily the goal for Pilsner here. It is much more of a full beer.
Yeah, this is full beer because we create very great content of extract from malt in brewhouse, but we don't convert all these sugars to alcohol. Pilsner Urquell has only 4.4 alcohol by volume, but there rests still a little bit residual extract which create a body and fullness, and because this taste of this residual extract has sweet tones, it allows to us to give to the beer more hops, Saaz hops, which are using for beginning to nowadays. And in Pilsner Urquell there is a huge volume of these compounds from hops and a huge volume of this residual extract, and this combination led to this that if you will take a first sip of Pilsner Urquell, you can feel the bitterness, very fine bitterness given by Saaz hops. But in a few seconds, this bitter taste is very well balanced with residual extract, with sweetness of this. And because there is a huge volume of these both compounds, it led to reaction in your mouth, with liquid in your mouth. And the results of this physiological reaction is that you have, I would say, a little bit dry feeling on your tongue. And this dry feeling recognize your brain, and because your brain is clever, start with solving this trouble. And it is solving by sending signal to your hand, and your hand will catch the glass and spill again your tongue. And the dry feeling is immediately out, but start again this reaction. And this process, which was described more than 100 years ago, it's called drinkability, and thanks God, Pilsner Urquell has a great drinkability around the world. This is about brewhouse, and we should continue with fermentation, higher portion residual extract, longer called fermentation and maturation. And this is the basic principles. And what is important from beginning, these brewers said, please don't change the processes, technology. You can use as modern equipment as is possible, but the process should stay like before. And this is our basic motto for future. And we follow it. And this is the reason why we have here this one department, which is carried by a team of our 8 coopers. And I don't know around the world about other brewery who still have a coopers for managing of fermentation and maturation rooms.
Sure. No, you have to make your own barrels because there aren't other people to make them for you here.
Absolutely. And when we come to parameters, I already mentioned alcohol and bitter compounds. But what is important, I have in my office a historical book which is handily written, and there are analyses of Pilsner beer dated from 1897 from one Switzerland laboratory in St. Gallen. And if I compare parameters which are measured in this time with parameters from our automatic analyzer, there are different on second point behind that.
This is 100th degree.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah,
and you can see same ingredients, same process, same analytical parameters. But I know you can ask me, how is it with taste? This is complicated answer, but not for me, because I am drinking Pilsner Urquell, I would say legally, for more than 43 years. 43 years, it's my working career, but I still start with working here as a student. Means close to 50 years when I could confirm taste is the same, but maybe for you is not enough. My father, who was working here from 1945, will add another few years. And third generation of Berkas came to Pilsen in 1927. And it's practically close to 100 years when we could confirm that the taste of Pilsner beer is the same. But to be sure that this is not only from opinion of one family. We have a still team of old brewmasters who are working here for whole life, and the oldest one was in January 92 years old, and they are visiting us every 2 months, and we prepare for these guys tasting. It's a group of about 20 brewers. And they are confirming that the beer taste is same like when they started here in Pilsner Brewery.
Maintaining that continuity through experienced tasters over those this tens of decades and decades. That's really interesting. Can we talk about some of the particulars? Like when you mentioned that the beer finishes a little bit sweeter. Are you public about the finishing gravity of the beer?
Yes, we have our gravity, and it was a parameter which was measured in St. Gallen, is about 1175 OG. And alcohol, we play about is 4.4 alcohol by volume. Bitterness given by Saaz hops is close to 40, but this bitterness is not harsh. It's very well balanced with the sweetness, and this is I would say a huge advantage of our beer, which is very well balanced together. But you know, brewing is balancing on the edge. If you have or wish something improved, you on the opposite side something are losing. And this is the reason why Pilsner Urquell as a beer need very strict caring about this beer. And this is the reason Because here in the cellars, and I am sure you can confirm it, and I will give you another glass, don't worry. The beer here is excellent, but sometimes happened in pub or after long-term export. The beer is not so great like here in the cellars, and this is the reason why we should care about this beer properly. This is the reason why we founded a group of, I would say, trade brewers working in the market, and we pushed the bartenders or owners in pubs and restaurants how necessary is care about proper temperature of storing the brewery, how is necessary to care about pipelines in pub, how often clean it, and of course, how clean the glass and serve the beer, because and in US, there are the beer usually served without head, without foam. And if we came to any pubs and say, we need about 2 or 3 fingers head, because the head will taste and aroma of the beer. It's not simple to do it, but this is the reason why we do it step by step. It's never-ending story.
Sure. That is one of the beautiful things about beer here in the Czech Republic, the focus on service and that attention to detail at that last mile as the beer gets to consumers is a very important thing. And the beers are they're beautiful, much more beautiful. I mean, the world of craft beer in America has tried to elevate the idea of beer as a drink in America, and over the last 20 years has done that by trying to move away from something like a shaker pint, the straight-walled glass, it's not very flattering to beer. They've tried to, use more attractive glass because it makes the experience of drinking a more pleasurable one. And the Czechs have really on the front of this for hundreds of years now in serving beer in a way that makes it feel like a special experience.
Yeah, caring about beer is of course very important, and I am lucky man because I was born here in Pilsen and started here in brewery which gives to the world category of Pilsner beer. But don't worry, I like other beer as well. And I was lucky man because I had chance visit, for example, Guinness in UK and see how is brewed this beer. We are neighbor with Germany, where is famous with wheat beer. Visit UK and try recognized why the guys are drinking these ales in this country. And each beer need their special serving ritual and caring about beer and cleanliness and cooling or proper serving temperature. This is very important. And I am very happy that we have here in Bohemia or in Czech now, we have here new small breweries, craft breweries, which gives to us a more wider palette of taste and aromas. And I'm a friend of this.
Sure. Well, I would love to talk about some additional things. Your malt and the way that you prepare your Pilsner malt, because here we are in Pilsen and you're making your malt here. I want to talk about that. I'd like to talk about water because obviously water is one of those key components that helps make Pilsner beer here, such a special thing that, of course, brewers across the world now try to mimic their water in the same kind of way. I want to talk about those kinds of things. Before we do that, from the rotatable pickup tube on Rogue Brewing's pilot brewhouse to the integrated hopbacks on Sierra Nevada's twin prototyping brewhouses, SS Brewtech has taken technology they invented, working with world-renowned industry veterans, and made them available to every craft brewer. To learn more about SS Brewtech's innovation list, head on over to ssbrewtech.com. Also, 100% recycled, 100% recyclable, and reusable PackTech handles are the sustainable solution to handle your craft beer. PakTech has been a leading producer of secondary packaging for the craft beer industry for over 30 years, and their handles are found across the globe. By fully embracing the principles of circular economy, PakTech helps customers meet their own ambitious, sustainable goals. 100% recycled, 100% recyclable, and reusable. PakTech is the sustainable packaging solution for your craft beer. Order your free samples today. Call 541-461-5000. That's 541-461-5000. And Berkeley Yeast, the creators of Tropics Yeast, which produces massive notes of guava and passion fruit, now bring you Thiol Boost. Berkeley Yeast's Thiol Boost is pure liquid thiol precursors that take Tropics to the next level. Add it to the fermenter when you pitch your yeast and prepare yourself for tropical fruit nirvana. The concentration of precursors is the same in every batch of Thiol Boost, so you can predictably tune the level of tropical flavor by adjusting the dosage. Mention this podcast, get 15% off your next order. Berkeley Yeast, ordinary yeast, made extraordinary. So let's talk about malt. I think this is, for many American craft brewers, malt is something that you order from a malt producer, and you can choose from the specs that they malt to, and those malt producers are trying to produce consistent malt to specific different specs, to hit different goals, just to make different products out there. But you all get to create your malt exactly for the way that it brews in your brew house. Talk to me about that process, and what are some of those parameters for the Pilsner malt that you all make?
Okay, we could go through ingredients, and malt is, of course, very important, and this is the reason why we produce it in our own way in our malting plant. For malting, we are using only Czech and Moravian barley. Mm-hmm. We have described variety which is possible to use for malting in Czech, because we have here described a process for brewing Czech beer by Czech Brewing and Malting Association. And of course, Pilsner Urquell fulfill all these parameters for Czech beer. And for malt, we are using only Czech barley and special strains or variety of barley.
What's the barley variety?
It's malts or bios or we have defined about 5-6 varieties of malt. And what is important, our malt is low modified. We started with germination and by humidity of the corns about 45% of water, and 5 days we take the germination, and then we kiln or dry this malt by a quite low temperature, up to 84, 83 degrees Celsius, and it led to this color of malt. And I mentioned that this malt is low modified, is given by this process, and is given by variety of the malt, variety of the barley. But why we do it? Simple answer: because we have very intensive process in meshing, 3-mesh decoction in brew house. And this is the reason why we do it.
You don't have to do some of that conversion in the malting process, because you're going to do that through the decoction process.
We say we need a little bit harder, not so low modified malt. Second ingredient is water. We were lucky that we are in Pilsen, because Pilsen as a city is located on the big sandstone plate, and to Pilsen are coming 4 rivers. And because in the sandstone are not any sources of alkalic salts or minerals, the water which is coming with these 4 rivers or rainwater is only good filtered through the sandstone flowing to underneath lake, which is about 100 meter below Pilsen. And because there are not these things which I mentioned, the water is only good filtered, and flow this water to this lake is something about 40, 50 years. And the water stays soft like surface water. And water is very important, because beer contains more than 90% of water. And then we could come to certain ingredients, and it's Saaz hops. And we are lucky that we are close to Saaz area. And in this area is grown famous Saaz hops. And we have very good relations with the farmers, and we have possibility double check what they do. We have few new projects with cooperation with hop farmers to find a way what will be happen in future to create any sustainable way. How rest for next generations quality of Pilsner Urquell like we know it now, and of course how we do it with Saaz hops, because it's very important.
That is an interesting one, and we'll have a future episode where we dig deeper into the question of hops, because the way hops are grown here, they're generally grown without irrigation. And I think, as most people know, the crop this past year, due to pressure from climate change, was pretty dramatically bad and almost disastrous for a lot of hop growers in terms of the yield. And and so there are these bigger questions about maintaining these heirloom, these older varieties that may not be agronomically suitable for a changing environment in the world in the future. And that has to be a question, because you care about this history and this past. That has to be a question that you all are thinking about as the world around us is changing.
You say about tough year for hop farmers, and we have a very interesting project together with hop farmers. We call it For Hop. And this is project when we started with measuring or observing how the hop plants need the water. We put cameras to hop fields, and we make a monitoring how the fields are grown, where the rain is coming and how deep the water is coming to the soil. And we started with measuring, we say electrocardiograph of a few plants, when we put sensors direct to plant and measured in which time the water is flowing up and when it's flowing down. And we are looking forward to find optimal way where and when used, sprinkling the water, or if not necessary, and how safe water to a proper time for growing the plants. We are on start, but we are sure that this will be quite successful way.
So you think the future will be some sort of more scientific approach to irrigation that effectively irrigates exactly when the plants need it?
And again,
something the wine industry does pretty well with that kind of irrigation.
Yeah, we are in contact with wineries as well, and again, this is the principles which I mentioned. Please use principles and ingredients like stay before or was born before, but use them as modern technique, which could help you to prolong the sustainability and mainly quality and drinkability of our beer.
Sure. With your Saaz hops, they're an agricultural product. Obviously, every harvest is different, but you are trying to maintain your standard of Pilsner Urquell every year. How do you manage some of those changes in flavor and aroma of intensity, but also of character that happen year to year because of just normal natural processes?
This is not simple way, but we have here in our area, in our brewery, still one small microbrewery, laboratory brewery, where this one batch is about 1 hectoliter. And we have it mainly for it that we double check all new ingredients from crop. And if we recognize that there are something different, we are able to adjust whole this process exactly for parameters of new crop. And this is then simple in big brewery to set it to brew the beer that consumer don't recognize any changes, because we are not like a wine producer, because wine producer has a little bit simple way. For wine producer, each year is new
It's our new
crop,
vintage, yes.
new vintage. But brewers, the biggest role of brewers is produce the beer where the consumer don't recognize which crop is used for brewing.
Sure. It's that is the challenge in beer. And it's interesting then that your brewing, some of your other parameters might change. We did look at that small brewery, and it's interesting to think that as large as Pilsner Urquell brewery is, that is still operating a brewery just that small, just 1 hectoliter, to test these kinds of things out. And then, of course, you make adjustments, I guess, to the other parameters based on that. Very, very interesting. We're getting on in time here. I want to kind of look at tackle two big questions, because I have to ask you about decoction, or else my friend Joe here will never forgive me for that. You triple decoct this beer, which of course is the traditional way that it has always been done. There are certainly brewers here in the Czech Republic who single decoct, double decoct. It's easier and takes less time to do fewer decoctions. You could mash, or you could modify your malt in a different way in order to speed up that process. And especially as the brewery is as large as it is now, making as much beer as it is now, there would be natural production benefits to speeding that process. From your perspective, what does that triple decoction process give the beer that it doesn't have from a single or double decoction? And overall, what do you think the impact is on the flavor of that process?
My look on it is very simple. If you are using infusion or 1, 2, 3 mash decoction, in each step are splitting the things which are in malt on different way or on different level. And if you are using, for example, double mash decoction, the ratio of this cutting or splitting things on the end is different in comparison with 3 mash decoction. Because we 3 times heated and boiled it and let by each mash different time. It means this process, infusion, 1, 2, 3 mash decoction, has on the end different ratio, each simple things on the end. And this is after, again, different fermentation process. It's leading to different taste and different parameters of the beer, and this is basic.
Yeah, and we should say you're doing these in copper vessels with direct fire, as we mentioned earlier, which also has its own parameters versus also trying to decoct using a steam brew house.
Exactly, because historically we make many research on this remesh decoction, and we confirm and we are sure that there are exactly create this parameters of Pilsner Urquell, all this, not only basic parameters, but it has an influence for drinkability, and drinkability it's very important for Pilsner Urquell as well.
Every Czech brewer we talk to talks about drinkability. Drinkability, it's the word here where, that and balance, balance is probably the word we hear American brewers use the most. And drinkability seems to be the word that Czech brewers use, more than any other. As we pull back, if we think about excellence in lager beer, what are for brewers that are making their own lager beers in their own brew houses? What do you think are some of those key things that create excellence in the beers? The key things that brewers should pay attention to as they're focusing on excellence in lager beer?
I think we have described our lager production in these principles of Czech beer, which is law or parameters confirmed by European Union, and I think for lagers it's important do a little bit meshing, 1, 2, or 3. We stay on 3 because we are sure that 3 is for Pilsner Urquell the best way. This is one way. Second important point is fermentation, and we don't control fermentation process because of achieving final original gravity. We let in our beer a little bit tones of diacetyl because we think this parameter could a little bit influence the drinkability, and this is a reason why we have in our beer this lowest portion of alcohol. We managed this process to achieve this low level. Many lagers around the world start fermentation and let continued to end of fermentation degree. And there is very low level of this residual extract, which in combination with using a variety of hops could lead to another, and again, drinkability. And this is the basic principles. And of course, but this is valid not only for lagers, purity and cleanliness in each step. Because beer is very sensitive for attacks, different microorganisms from air, from pub, by bad clean pipelines in pub. Everything could be destroyed, and it's a pity because brewing process is not simple. But we say in Czech, brewer make only half a job, but second part of this job is done in pub. We brewers brew the beer, but bartender makes it. And if bartender is lazy guy and don't clean properly everything in pub, pipelines, cellars, or glasses, bartender could destroy everything. But in case that he has experience and skills, could excited this beer coming from the brewery to the heaven.
That is the beautiful thing when it's served so well. And you're right, and that is a problem that many brewers face. the one needing to sell more beer, but sometimes ending up in places where customers have a poor experience of that beer. On the flip side, when you incentivize and showcase just how beautiful it can be and how successful places can be here when they serve it well, then it helps bring everyone else along because they feel the pressure from customers themselves. But I love what you're saying there, that this approach to Pilsner is not about it's not about what we see in the most industrialized versions of these beers that are some breweries call Pilsner, whether they're not, with beers that are meant to have as little flavor as they can. Your beer is built to have lots of flavor and to be a very engaging beer, a beer that you can enjoy while you drink it, not a beer that you want to forget while you're drinking it.
Yeah, this tough explain everything, but what is important? Czech beer or Czech brewers gives to the world more great results, and many brewers from Czech brew the beer around the world, and I am lucky that or happy that they continued with prolonging our tradition to produce a little bit more aromatic beer, full-bodied, and this is the reason, by the way, that we have here in Czech the highest consumption of beer per capita, and this is the reason why I should wish to brewers around the world, and of course in America, don't be lazy and try to make a mash. You can tell me, I am not equipment, but we have only 2 vessels, one kettle with heating and a second not heated, only for stay in rest. And everything on the end is leading to great beer, and I trust you will be absolutely successful. And on the end, you can see by drinking a beer, cheers, enjoy it, na zdraví, how we say in Czech.
That is a great place to bring this to a close. G&D Chillers has set the standard on quality, service, and reliability with 24/7 service and support. CanCraft is nearby and ready to deliver your complete packaging solution. Trust the experts from Old Orchard to handle freight for your craft fruit concentrates. AccuBrew predicts specific gravity during fermentation to help ensure consistent results. ProBrew's rotary can fillers reduce waste and produce higher quality packaged beer. SS BrewTech has made Top Tech available to every craft brewer. PackTech handles are the sustainable solution to handle your craft beer, and Berkeley Yeast's Thiol Boost is pure liquid thiol precursors that take tropics to the next level. If you've enjoyed this podcast, go to beerandbrewing.com, click on that subscribe button. And we've got some great content from our Czech trip here coming up in the next lager-focused issue of the magazine. And so we'll have more to give to you. Just go to beerandbrewing.com, click on that subscribe button, and become a subscriber if you're not already. Václav Berka, Brewmaster Emeritus for Pilsner Urquell, thank you so much for talking with me on the podcast. Normally we'd ask where people can learn more about Pilsner Urquell, but I'm very confident that they can find Pilsner Urquell through all the digital channels or right here in Pilsen in this amazing brewery with the best brewery tour I think I have ever experienced, an interactive tour that should be a must for any beer lover to come see for themselves.
Okay, and on the end, I wish to all lovers to after sip of your maybe new beer with using mashing, do
delicious. Thank you so much for talking with me. Cheers.
Thank you. And if you will have a tour to Europe, please don't forget to visit Czech Republic and mainly Pilsen. Don't visit only Prague. We have in Prague great pubs, absolutely, but Pilsner is only a few kilometers.
It's so close. We're only an hour away from Prague. Anybody can make that.
Absolutely. Please visit us and you can double check where Pilsner beer was born 180 years ago. Cheers.
If you haven't tasted it, fresh, pulled from one of the wooden vats here in the cellars, then you can't really say that you've had the full experience yet. It's a special thing, and we're drinking it now, and it's absolutely delicious. Cheers.
Cheers.
This podcast is brought to you by Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine for those that love to make and drink great beer. Learn more online or subscribe at beerandbrewing.com or find us on social media at Craft Beer Brew.